What's up, Lynn?
How's it going?
It's going well, man. Good to see you, as always. Someone just made a comment, and I get this a lot, which will lead into this conversation, is that Autopotamus is the reason I got an Autopot system. As someone who deals with a lot of the Autopot customers
Yeah.
and talk to a lot of customers, I have to say that is becoming more common. There is a lot of people that I talk to, and the second they mention Autoflowers, the first thing I ask them is, by chance, do you know who Autopotamus is? And they always say yes.
Yeah.
What you've been doing is very impressive. And so I know people are really excited for the fact that, one of the reasons we wanted to do this IG Live was to let people know that you have a new YouTube channel that you recently launched. And so I'm sure there's some people on this IG Live that aren't aware of that. And so before we talk about, what you're growing right now and what systems and get into some of the community questions, I wanted to just give you a chance to talk about the YouTube channel, what kind of videos you're making for it and what people can expect from subscribing and following along.
So I've been growing for almost 7 years now, and I think the reason why a lot of people are familiar with Autopotamus is because I'm quite active on Instagram because I have my own Autopotamus channel, and also on Reddit where I'm posting on different subreddits, mainly Night Owl, of course, and Speedrun and Autoflowers, microgrowers. So a lot of people have exposure to some of the plants that I've been growing. And funny fact is, I do see a ton of autoflowers and autopots grow on the internet now on social media, and the size of these plants are quite incredible. So it makes me very happy because when I first started growing with Autopot, that system was not commonly known, but now it's basically, at least in that part of the community, it's pretty much like a household name at this point in time. Yeah. So. Um, Instagram, most of us in this sphere that do this kind of stuff are shadow banned. Like I'm at, I don't know,
Yeah, we deal
21,000.
with it
I
all
feel,
the time, man.
are you shadow banned too?
Oh yeah.
So,
We had
so
a period of time where
yeah,
we deleted, or not deleted, but archived a lot of our cannabis posts,
yeah,
and we were going, the direction of just posting fruits and veggies. And
yeah,
it's a double-edged sword because people want to see cannabis grows,
yeah.
and so we had less interaction when we were just posting fruits and vegetables. So and then we found like the second we would post something cannabis related, like we'd get shadow banned right away. So we were basically like, just screw it. Let's just lean in. And if
Yeah,
they kick us off, they kick us off. We're all dealing with this bullshit. Every single person that uses Instagram
yeah.
sees some of the stuff they allow compared to us just posting pictures of plants, and it's crazy, but it's the reality that we live in when we're kind of having to use these social media platforms.
I don't want to bitch too much, but I may have mistakenly clicked on a booty, and now my explore page is just nothing but booty.
I
Whenever
think that's
I
the
post
case
my
whether you
phone to my
click on it or
kids,
not these days.
oh, yeah, like, and it's insane. It's just like booty's fine, bodies are great, but plants is a big no. I don't post a lot of consumption videos and stuff like that, but still shadow banned. So back to YouTube. I'm quite happy telling or showing everyone what is possible to grow using the Autopot and modern genetics. And I figured it was the next logical step is to start doing videos on YouTube. And I don't think I'm shadow banned yet, but I still have an opportunity to actually create something and just reach out to a lot of people. So it's been really exciting, but also kind of nerve wracking. Like my biggest stress was, editing because I don't know editing at all. I had to kind of learn on top of it. And talking in front of a camera, without any kind of feedback is kind of different as well. But it's been a good time. I'm on my fourth video day. Well, today's day 29 of the grow, and it's going really well. I'm really excited for people to see what I can actually produce. And a lot of photos that you see on the internet is like, massive plants and stuff like that, but it's a process. The plant is really small until it grows big, and I'll be able to showcase it on YouTube. Now, one thing is I don't show every single step that I do on YouTube. And the reason why is because my intention is to build a masterclass type of videos, like a video series that people can actually purchase and just learn everything that I do. So obviously, I'd like to answer all the questions, but it is just not physically possible. The amount of questions that I get every day is completely insane.
Yeah.
I know some people are mad because I don't respond back directly to them, but it's just a lot to take on when you have 3 kids, a full-time job. So I figured the best way to, explain what I do will be like a video series that I can just distribute,
Trust me, you do a great job answering questions that people ask, and I cannot even imagine how many questions you get on a daily basis. And I know the people that you do get a chance to respond to appreciate it greatly, but I think the way you're thinking about it is great, which is how do I provide, knowledge for people you know, in the most mass-produced way that the most people can kind of look at what I'm doing and see if that's the right way for them to grow. And I would think that most people are interested in growing autoflowers and yielding a pound per plant.
That's right. I've mentored last year 12 people, I believe, and every single one that I mentored are growing exactly like me. You basically need one session where I explain everything, and then you're off and going. Like I'm passing on a skill set, and you can grow pound plants after pound plants after pound plants. So I know for a fact that the knowledge that I hold, I can pass it on rather easily because I've seen it many, many times now. There's a lot of variables. A lot of people reach out to me and they're asking for advice, but the fact is I cannot help everyone, especially it's the time commitment is huge because I need to have a really good understanding of everything that you did or didn't do, plus every single product that I may or may not be aware of. So it's almost too much. So I can teach what I know with the products that I use, but when someone else reaches me and shows me a really messed up plant, I'm like, oh boy, what are you using? What did you do? It just takes too much time. I cannot do it. I'd
Yeah,
love to help.
no,
Physically love
I
talking
I
to people.
understand. Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about cocoa, just a topic of like water quality or pH alone, it just I could talk about that for a while.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I worked in that field of work, water quality. I was an environmental consultant, so I know my pH pen, my calibration really well.
yeah. Yeah, I know. We've talked about that
Yeah,
before, and you are very meticulous with
you
pH
have to.
and with your water, which is a very important thing that I wish a lot of growers would be as meticulous with it as you are,
You have to be.
because it really unlocks a lot with the plants. Speaking about things like that, let's jump into like what are you growing right now? And I know you're
Okay.
doing some filming for the master class and for some stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what do you have in your tent right now? What genetics with what AutoPot systems are you using?
Okay. So I've got a Shadow Band Haze by Night Owl. That one is in a 3.9 gallon fabric pot. So that's the standard Autopot. And if I'm correct, I think the nomenclature is like a one pot system, but I called it a 3.9 plastic standard. Um, as part of my video, I've showcased that one. Right next to it is a Granite Haze F6 by Speedrun Seeds in a 5 gallon fabric Autopot XL. I've
Yeah.
grown the Granite Haze F5 twice now, and I think both times one was a pound plant and the other was I think was 15 ounces. So I know for a fact it's a really, really stellar genetics. F6 just means that it's even more stable according to Ben compared to the F5. Let me see. Far left is a Comet Candy by Multiverse Beans, and that one is my biggest one so far. It doesn't mean much at this point in time, but it's the biggest one so far. It's on the Tray2Grow. I'm using a 2 gallon fabric pot, but it's not full. So it's probably like 1.5 gallon of actually cocoa in there. And far right is Master Brews by Night Owl as well. Same thing. It's a 2 gallon fabric pot. I think it's Vivo Sun brand, pretty commercial brand available on Amazon, and possibly a little less than 1.5 gallon of cocoa. And this is my second time using the Tray2Grow in that fashion. It's my second. I've only had 3 grows so far with the Tray2Grow. No, sorry, 4 grows. Twice with the 23.5 gallon fabric pot with Build a Soil
Yeah,
3.0 and
saw
amendments.
that one.
Yeah, so ran that system twice, and both times I had a pound plant, and another one was like 7 to 8 ounce. I'm going to run it again, but I need another Tray2Grow, which is incoming. And the first time I ran it with just a fabric pot right on top of it, wicking from the Tray2Grow, and it works fantastic. I think I've shared photos before, so I'm doing it again this time around. But because I like the Tray2Grow so much, because it's so versatile, I'm actually getting two more.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, those are great genetics. Obviously, I love Daz and Night Owl. He's been a big supporter of Autopot, and
Oh, that's
Ben from
amazing.
Speedrun.
Yeah.
Ben's great as well. Ben actually just he's setting up a really cool R&D room where he just
Yeah.
got 50 Tray2Grows.
I just,
And
I just talked with Ben. I saw the stack of Tray2Grow in his room there. I was like, man, you got a lot of Tray2Grow. We're actually going to have, we will be having an Instagram live, me and him, in the near future here. So that should be interesting. And also, I talked with Daz. I'd like to interview him as well. We never actually talk like I'm talking to you. We correspond by texting. So it'll be the first time talking to Daz, and we'll film it.
So
Absolutely.
okay, so the Tray to Grow, what you were saying. So
Yeah.
we've seen obviously more people using the Tray to Grow. We're really excited about
Yeah.
that product. We love it. I've been using it a lot lately to grow microgreens, which has been great. And I know, there's people using it in all different ways. So you said you had what, 3 to 4 grows with it under your belt. So
But,
what do you think
bro,
about the Tray to Grow so far? Can you talk about using it?
man, I love it. I love it. One plant that I didn't mention that's actually on the tray to grow, I'm doing a full solo cup grow with a Night Owl strawberry milk and cookies remix. And I sprouted it the same way that I showed in my first video on the Autopotamus YouTube channel. And I just water it, and then I set it on the tray to grow. It's been there ever since. I haven't done anything. And she's at day 9 right now, and people can watch it grow. Basically growing. Well, we'll see. I've never done this before. I was chatting with people on my Discord, and I'm like, man, I'm just gonna try a solo cup on a Tray2Grow just because. So you can follow along too. It should be pretty exciting. But I do love it because you can use the Tray2Grow with the big planter bag, 23.5 gallon. So that could be living soil with just water in the res, or you can have coco. Then now you're growing hydroponically with your nutrient water in the reservoir, and it all works. I've done it. It all works. It's awesome. But one big advantage is it fits in a 4x4 tent quite nicely, or if you have a tent that's 4 feet long, and also one point of failure in one aquavolve, right? And then you can grow many plants on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way that you're using it right now, so you said you have multiple plants on it right now, so you have different genetics on the Tray to Grow right
Correct.
now.
That's correct. Yeah.
And
I've tried to grow 3 plants on the Tray2Grow. The first time I've done it, I had to cull one because they grow super big. I thought I could have kept them small in 2 gallon. That wasn't a thing. I grew a pound plant in 2 gallon of coco on the Tray2Grow.
you
So
know
yeah,
what?
you can have many plants, and you can grow really big ones too, like really, really big.
I've seen people pool massive plants in the 2.2 gallon pots. I've seen
Yes.
people pool them in, the larger pots. And I think that the one thing about Autopot is regardless of the pot size,
Yeah.
if you have good genetics in a good environment, you're going to have a large plant.
It's the access to water. So I have the 3.9 gallon in the AutoPot standard. I've grown pound plants with it. I've used a 6.6, almost full with coco, same thing. The plant size are quite similar. I haven't tried the 2.2 gallon one. I wish I had it, but I have a feeling I could grow the same size plant with a small pot. With coco, because you're growing hydroponically and you have access to water at the bottom, like constant water, you don't need a lot of substrate. Now, if you intend to grow in soil sometime in the future, that's where I recommend a bigger container like the 6.6 XL plastic, because you have more options. You can grow coco and you can grow soil. If you grow soil with something really small like a 2 gallon, don't take my word for it, but I don't suppose the plant could grow really large.
Okay, so what is your favorite pot size to use when when you're growing in
I
cocoa?
like 3.9, but
Three nine.
I would try the 2.2 if I had it. I don't have it, but I would try that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to send you some because I want to see. how how big you can get them in the 2.2.
Yeah, I've got 3.9. I've got 5 gallon fabric. I've got 6.6 plastic. I've used all of them interchangeably, whatever I have on hand or how much cocoa that I have on hand, right?
Yeah, we're
But
actually I've been talking to the folks from Grassroots
yeah,
Fabric Pots, and they are going to be we're looking into making some of their like living soil. They make that bed for the Tray2Grow,
right.
which Jeremy from Build a Soil uses. And so we're going to use that same concept and make some pots for the XL and the XXL tray.
People ask me all the time, do you prefer fabric or plastic? And personally, in terms of yield, they're similar. In terms of ease of use, I prefer plastic. If you're going to reset or grow, remove all the roots and reset everything, plastic is so much faster. With the fabric pot, like the roots gets all intertwined in the fabric. It's a total mess. And also, it's a little more unsightly. Not that it has like an impact on the growth, but the outside of the fabric pot will have some nutrient buildup on it, like salt buildup on it, and sometimes a bit of mold, sometimes a bit of algae. It doesn't impact the plants, but it's just kind of unsightly, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No, it is. I mean, we've had people contact us and be like, "What's this mold growing on the side of my pot?" And we're
Yeah,
like, "No, it's just salt buildup. You
yeah.
know, it happens for sure." Well, okay. So talking about reusing it and turning things over, do you reuse your substrate?
Yeah.
And if you do, what is your process for reusing it?
Yeah, I can talk about that. So basically, I will empty the pot outside in a big bin, like a plastic bin of some kind, and then I'll let it dry. I'll break down everything. I'll remove the big roots by hand because you can just pick them up and then chuck in the garden. The smaller roots, I use a tennis racket or a squash racket, something with like a grid, and I'll just sieve out the small roots into my compost bin. And I will reuse it. Like I will reuse it hands down, no problem. Cocoa, because of its nature, is quite inert. Man, I've had this bin that I talked about with like pucks of roots and stuff outside all winter, all spring. It's snowing on it and rain on it, a bunch of stuff in there. I will reuse it. Nothing grows in cocoa. There won't be anything. It's just so inert. I will reuse it. Absolutely. I'm outside on my deck. The kids are running around and I'm just seeding away for like an hour. It's meditative. I think it's fun.
Yeah. So when you're using cocoa, I just saw a question come through. Are you concerned about salt buildup in the cocoa? Do
Ah,
you flush? Like, what are your thoughts on a system like Autopot with cocoa and salt buildup and flushing?
I think there's a lot of I think people don't quite understand salt buildup as much as they should. So basically, imagine you have some salt water, and then you leave it on a counter. Eventually, the water will evaporate, and then what remains is just salt on the table, right? So basically, the gist of it is just that. Now, the plant will drink nutrient water, constantly drink nutrient water. Eventually, if there's too much salt buildup, if you use like a high concentration of salt, eventually it will migrate to the top portion of your autopot. So if you look at your autopot, the rooting system after you're done and growing, you're resetting, you will notice that all the roots are where the water uptake happens at the bottom. The top will be mostly, say the top like 3 inches will be loose, and that stuff has some salt buildup because of the evaporation of the salt, the nutrient water with the atmosphere. Okay, so the top couple inches is super hot. So I have done this. Okay, so this is a lesson for everyone. I'm trying to mix. I'm trying to mix some cocoa. I'm trying to start some new plants. I don't have enough cocoa because I'm running out. And then I grab some of the loose cocoa on top of a previous grow. Man, I burnt the hell out of my plants. I've burnt them good. And then I'm like, man, what did I do wrong? And it's because I grabbed some loose cocoa from the top portion of an old grow where all the salt is concentrated. So if you want to do something and you want to reuse your cocoa and you're scared of the salt buildup, what you can do is you can get rid of the top few inches of loose stuff. If you want to do that, that's totally fine. I personally don't. I mix it up with all the rest, and then there's no issue. But definitely do not grab a handful of the top cocoa and try to sprout some seedlings with it. It will burn so bad, like so bad.
As the plant wicks that nutrient solution up, it continues to migrate up the
In my
pot where it
great
evaporates off the surface and the residual salts collect on that top layer of substrate. And I've seen people with heavy salt grows that actually get a crust of salt on the
yes,
top of the substrate that actually
yeah,
can act as sort of an insect barrier.
yeah.
Um,
I've seen
so,
that.
you know, there can be some potential benefits to that. So, okay, when you're using cocoa in an autopot system, are you flushing at the end of your
No,
grow?
no. So we just had a discussion of where the salt buildup might happen. So that's one place. The other place that I talked about previously, but I will talk about it again. If you use a fabric pot, it's the same process. The fabric pot will be full of nutrient water with salt into it. And because of contact with the atmosphere, there will be some nutrient buildup on the outside of your fabric pot. You will see it. It's going to look white. It looks like you know when there's snow and you add like salt on the ground, it looks just like that, but on the outside of your pot. So two places where you can see the nutrient buildup. Now, if if you decide to flush from the top, you will push all that heavy, high EC nutrient water down into the roots and shock the hell out of everything. Do not flush. Do not flush. I don't recommend. There is no purpose. The only time I will flush, I've never done it myself, but if your pH is completely out of whack and your plants are struggling, that's probably a good time to do it. But to flush because of, I don't know, there's all kind of grow science going on with the flushing at the end of the grow because the taste is better or the white ash, whatever. I don't do that. I do not flush my plants in that sense, no. What I do, for example, towards the end of the grow is I will lower my EC. Most people will notice this, but in mid-flower, the plant drinks like crazy, like a crazy amount of gallons of water per day or per week or whatever. But when you're reaching towards the end of the grow and the plant is about to die, they don't consume nearly as much. I will reduce my EC about then, but never will I actually just feed pH water. There always will be nutrient in my mix, just
Okay.
not as heavy as mid-flower.
So when your plants are feeding heavy in mid-flower and you're growing some of those massive night owl and speed run genetics, how many gallons of water do you say they're drinking a day? What would be
Oh man.
your estimate for that? I get a lot of people that ask me like, how fast are my plants going to drink? How many gallons of water per day?
So I want to say for two plants, probably a gallon and gallon and a half a day in mid-flower. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll be mixing like a 5 gallon pail every like 4 or 5 days maybe, and I have two res. So I'll mix two 10 gallon, two 5 gallon pail. I'll dump it in every like 4 or 5 days in mid-flower, and then that's the ultimate max. That's when they consume everything. The most EC, the most light, the most everything is in mid-flower. Yeah.
Okay. Here's a question from the chat. Someone asked for your opinion on it. Is the 6.6 gallon pot too big for autoflowers?
No.
That's what they're running and wondering if they should go with a smaller pot. So what are your thoughts on, the pot size in relation to growing autoflowers? Do you think a 6.6 is too big or do you think it's fine?
You don't have to fill it completely. If you're going to use a 6.6 gallon plastic in XL with the rounded bottom, you don't have to fill it all the way to the top. You can do halfway if you want, So if you don't want to use that much substrate, you can do that. If you want to fill it completely, that's fine, but it's not too big, no. But then it gives you the option to grow in soil properly after the fact in the future if you want to. So it's kind of the 6.6 is kind of a 2 for 1.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Another question from the chat. Using the Tray2Grow a couple
Yeah,
times,
yeah,
have you noticed that when you're using it with nutrients in the reservoir, have you
yeah.
noticed any sort of salt buildup in the tray?
I think
Um,
I think so. Yeah. On
do you
on the
do
tray,
anything to combat that, or has it
no,
become a problem, or do you just let it go?
I just let it go. I noticed it, and that's about the extent of it. There will always be something growing on it because it's quite moist, right? Oh, I love that word. So you have like your wicking mat, and on top of it will be another the fabric. I think it's the copper
The
mat
root
to
control sheet.
control the
Yeah.
root control sheet. So you will see some salt build up on it. You might see some algae, and yeah, I haven't seen mold. I've seen some algae. There's some algae growing on top of it right now. I don't do anything. It doesn't bother me. It's just a thing. Yeah, doesn't bother me.
Yeah. No, that's what I tell people too. Like, don't worry about it. It'll happen. But
It will happen.
when you're growing with nutrients in a reservoir, how do you maintain the pH in the reservoir? Do you have pH issues in the res? Do you think that's a nutrient specific thing? Are you using a recirculating pump? What are you doing to keep a nice stable pH in your reservoir?
Okay, so that's a pretty heavy topic actually, in the sense that there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Okay, personally for me, my tap water is really good. Not all tap water is made equal. Depending where you live, your tap water is going to be of varying degree of different characteristics, right? So for me, my tap water comes from surface runoff, surface water that comes from a river in the subarctic. So my water is naturally soft. A lot of people in the States or in southern Canada, for example, their tap water will be coming from the underground where it will be very hard. And that's where the pH issues or pH stability stems from. You want to have soft water. If you have hard water, it will drift over time. So I do not have any issues with pH drifting because I use really good nutrient in Canada and because my water is soft. Now, if your water is hard, you're going to pH it to, say, target 5.8, 5.9. It might be 6.1, 6.2 the day after. Now, the solution is really simple. You go and purchase a reverse osmosis system to have soft water, and then your pH won't drift.
Okay. And are you adding it? You're adding some CalMag into that RO
Always,
water?
always, always, always. If you're growing cocoa, you're going to want your nutrient plus CalMag all the time.
So,
That
okay,
is
so when you're using Canna, you're using the Canna line and some CalMag,
correct.
and that's
Canada
it.
AB, and I use CalMag. I've used many different brands, but right now I'm using Calimagic by GH, which
Okay.
was recommended to me by Ben. Ben is a weed agronomist. If he tells me to use something, I will.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited to try his full auto
Yeah.
nutrients. I know he's reformulating it for his autoflower specific nutrients.
Yes. He's working on a nutrient line that is specific to auto flowering plant needs. Ben knows his stuff. I can't wait to try it. He told me he was gonna ship me some. Ben, where is it? I need to try it.
You hear
I
that,
want to
Ben?
try your nutrient line.
I take it you're leaving for extended periods of time. You
Yes.
have a day job. So how long are you leaving for when you leave your Autopot system running at
Yeah.
home? And when you come back, what's the status of it? Is your reservoir still pretty in line?
Yeah. So, um, so my current job, I leave for maybe Tuesday to Friday for the longest. So we're talking like 3 days, you know. But the previous job that I had, I was leaving for 5 days at a time, and it's always been fine. Now, the main driver, whether you can leave for an extended period of time or not, is the size of your reservoir. Now, the four-pot system that is sold by Autopot has one reservoir for four plants. That is not sufficient to be leaving for 5 days because in mid-flower, explicitly, they drink so fast, right? So that's why when I talk to people about my recommendation is like at least two 13-gallon reservoir for four plants, because if you only have a 12 or 13 gallon for four plants, it won't last 2 days, you know? So the size of the reservoir is what dictates if you can leave for a longer period or not. Now, another thing that I do, if I'm not too sure if there's enough water, is I'll fill my reservoir to the max. So that's 13 times 2, so 26 gallon. Plus, I'll make a 5-gallon pail on the side or two for my partner that's home to dump it in if it's low. Then it's done. You can leave for even longer, right? But then again, you want to make sure that your water is correct so it doesn't drift over time. The pH doesn't drift over time.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite ways, I was talking to a guy the other day. He's growing with the XXL system in the 13-gallon pot. So he's using the Build a
Yeah,
Soil 3.0 mix, and he
yeah.
has a four-pot system, but he's using a 105-gallon reservoir. And
Jesus.
so he's like topping off his reservoir like once or twice a month,
Wow.
and just basically like letting it cruise. And you could even go that far in the other direction where, get a much bigger res than you need and it's even less work. Not everybody has the space for that, but I just, that cracks me up when people do stuff
So
like that.
I want to say that at that point in time, if your plan is to mix for like a month at a time, you want to make sure that the nutrient mix that you're using doesn't flocculate, doesn't make any kind of sedimentation at the bottom, which could, block the line. So you need something really clean.
Yeah, so he's
That's
using
really
water only in the
important.
reservoir. So I'll say that, like, yeah, leaving it in for a month with a nutrient solution
Yeah,
could be a little tricky. But if you're just running water because he's got the organic living soil blend going
yeah,
on in the pot, that is, I've talked to people who have let their reservoir go that long with nutrients in it, but
yeah.
it was not on purpose. It was more of me then trying to help them troubleshoot because it was
Right.
it was going south.
I've used many, many different lines, along the years, and I've used one that would gunk up really fast. It was really cheap. I'm not gonna name it. I don't wanna I don't wanna trash talk any nutrient line, but I've used one that would, make flocculence at the bottom and it would just gunk up really fast. And I'm like, I can't. That would not work with the Autopot system, but it works for my veggies, so I use it outside now all summer.
If someone's thinking about using a specific type of nutrient in the Autopot system, I like to tell them, fill up a 5-gallon bucket and let it sit for a couple days, see what
Yeah, that's a good
happens.
idea.
Does
Yeah,
sediment form at the bottom? Does the pH go crazy? Because if it does, then, you want to think about either maybe incorporating a recirculating
yeah,
pump to keep it mixed
yeah.
up, or potentially finding a different nutrient line that stays in solution better and maintains its pH better.
So I don't. A lot of people ask me for they want me to talk about the nutrient line that I use, but I don't, because if I share explicitly the exact nutrient line that I use with the concentration that I use, I can see so many people burning their plants, because you need to have a proper conversation with, lighting system and environment, all that, to do what I do. So I'm like, I risk people burning their plants pretty good if I share exactly what I do to the T, It needs to
Yeah.
have needs to be in a bigger picture of environmental controls and all that.
Are you using CO2 in your tent?
I I did in the past. I have in the past. I was using those Mother Earth bucket generators, those CO2 generators
Yeah.
that comes in a bucket.
Yeah.
They're for 6 months, and I was using it in the summertime in the close environment. So summertime, the CO2 level is around 450 ppm, and when I was using the bucket, I was running around 1100 ppm of CO2. And if I want to be honest, the bigger grows that I've had in the past was using extra CO2. Yeah.
Yeah. What
So
what light what lights are you using right now?
right now it's the QB96. So I got four QB96 by HLG. But the really really good grow that I've had, I was using the QB96 210s, and the other one would have the Photon Tech 1,000 watt XT CO2 Pro is the name of it. I also have a Growers Choice ROI E720, but I don't use it. I don't have enough grow tents. Really really good light, but it's a spare at this point in time.
Okay.
Oh man,
Okay.
I've had so many lights over the years. I should make a video about all the lights that I've purchased. It's freaking ridiculous. I had like a T5. I had Mars Hydro Blurpo. I had a 315 CMH ceramic metal halide. I've had some Spider Farmer. Oh man, another Mars Hydro, the Grower's Choice, Photon Tech, and the QB96 by HLG. I had like 8 lights.
All right. Which one's your favorite of all those?
The QB96, I like them a lot
Okay.
because they're on two different fixtures and I can lift them really easily, versus the Photon Tech, which shoots up to 1,000 watt. I've never really use a 1001. It's too hot in my environment. But if you want to move that light, you have like four ratchets that you gotta mess around. Really good coverage, but in terms of ease of use, the QB96 is really nice.
Okay.
But those are do-it-yourself light. It was meant for a do-it-yourself crowd. Uh, so they're actually quite cheap for the amount of wattage that it can produce. So and I've been using them for like 6 years now. Yeah. So I'm bet you I'm really close to 50,000 hours of actual use.
Another question we get a lot is people checking the pH in their reservoir versus the pH in their trays.
Yeah.
You know, that's a common thing with Autopot. You know, we tell people just to dial in their pH in the reservoir and
Yeah.
kind of not worry about what happens in the trays. But what do you see as a regular Autopot grower when you're dialing in your res pH? How does that compare to your tray pH? And you know, what are your thoughts on that subject?
Okay. It is not something that is discussed often, but it is known. So you want to bang your pH in the reservoir, as you said, because that is what is being fed. And I've talked about this before. My target for the pH in the reservoir or in my nutrient mix is 5.8. Now, pH is in cocoa is a range. So anywhere between 5.6 to 6.0, I'm happy. If I get 5.7, I'm not going to adjust further. I'm happy with that. If I get 5.6, man, that's fine. But I aim for 5.8. Now, if you actually go and measure the pH in the tray, it's going to be higher. It's going to be closer to 6.2, 6.3, and that's normal. Don't think there's something wrong. It is normal. The pH in the tray will always be higher than what is in the reservoir. And the reason why that happens is because of the contact of your nutrient mix with the substrate, especially with cocoa. I'm talking about cocoa. That's my experience. But if you can try it, if you go measure the pH in your tray, it's going to be higher than 5.8 guaranteed. And that's normal. So I never check the pH in the tray. I don't care about the pH in the tray. My plants are happy. I'm happy. I will triple check the pH of my nutrient mix though, but that's the extent of it. With the nutrient mix that I use and the water that I have, it doesn't drift. I don't even check my reservoir once it's mixed proper. I never check the pH, just when I mix it. The pH is everything. I just want to reinstate that if you use cocoa in an Autopot system, you are growing semi-hydroponically. It's called passive sub-irrigation. Go Google it. You're growing hydroponically, and pH is everything in hydro, like everything. Yeah, all the issues that you might see online might be as simple as your pH is fucked up. You know, so when I'll build my masterclass, the water quality section and the pH section is going to be very long because I can't stress how important it is.
All right, I love it. I love it. Um, okay, last question about I saw someone in the chat was asking about air domes.
Yes,
Are you using air domes right now in your
I'm using airdomes in the Autopot Standard and the XL. I am not using airdome on the Tray2Grow because the airdome is meant to be sitting in water, right? Yeah, it's meant to be sitting in water. There's no water to be sitting in on the Tray2Grow. So some quick math. I use, say I want to use a 4-pot system. You want 15 gallon per hour per plant. If you got 4 plants, that's 60. Now, when you buy an air pump, you look at what it's rated for. So mine is rated for 143. I want 60. So on the dial, my air pump has a dial. I run it roughly halfway. If you run it this way, you should not see any kind of movement in
right?
the water level of your tray. So that's kind of
Yeah.
how I run my system. But people in Europe, it's going to be liters per hour. So you have to do a bit of math on the internet and figure out what might work for you. But you're right. If your air pump is too strong, there's going to be all kind of bubbles and air movements, and you don't want that, as it might interfere with the functioning of the aquavalve.
Yeah, and that's, you know, something you can do. An easy way to just visually check that is after you turn on your air pump, take the
Yeah,
lid off the tray and
yeah,
look at the water. Is
correct.
there water moving in the tray? Do you see bubbles coming out of the bottom? If
It
so, you know,
should
turn it
not
down
move.
until it's not moving.
It should not move. Yeah.
Um, okay, one final question, and then I'll
Okay.
let you go. I appreciate your time as always. I know you've been using Autopot for a while. How how long did it take you after starting using the AutoPot system to start getting those pound, yields from the system? How many runs with it? You know, how long did it take you to kind of get into that groove that you're in right now?
Within 3 grow with the Autopot system, I had a pound plant. Yeah. But my first pound plant was a Mephisto Ripley's OG. That was 20 and a half. But that one was a bit of an anomaly because she started flowering in the day 60s, which means the entire grow went all the way to day 117. So
Whoa.
it yielded a lot, but she took forever. But thereafter, using various genetics, I was able to replicate, many pound plants. But if I grow less than 7 or 8 ounce per plant, to me that's subpar. That's I fucked up or I stunted or something like that. Or it's a fast strain. 10 plus, easily achievable with the Autopot system and my technique.
Okay, and then to piggyback on that, what was like the most recent strain that you grew that had the heavy yield? What was the strain and what was the final result?
Okay. So purple strawberry popsicle, I want to say that was like 20 ounce. And that same grow, I had the grape Debo with a 26.6 ounce.
That's
Those plants were right next to each other. So that particular grow where I was using CO2, two tents, a 5x5 and a 4x4, 8 plants was 110 ounce.
that
Eight,
26.6
eight,
grape
eight
Debo.
autoflowers was 110 ounce. Yeah, it was insane. Which
That
is
grape
why I'm
Debo is
trying to
something
get
else.
some more CO. I want to run that bucket again. It was only good for 6 months and then I ran out. So I need some
Oh, don't worry, it's on the way with a
more.
refill pack as well. So
Yeah,
we got you set for the next year.
awesome. And I can make a video about I can talk about the whole CO2 bucket, but I will be using it 100%.
Yeah, I'll get some of those 2.2s up to you as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Um, Yeah, so just to mention again, for people that didn't catch it at the beginning, so Lynn does have a new YouTube channel,
Yeah.
which you can find if you just search Autopotamus in YouTube. He's got a couple videos up there already, and then I know he has. You just mentioned the Discord. So what if somebody wants to join the Discord? Do you have any information about that? Can they email someone to get information? How do you suggest they do that?
So currently the Discord channel is strictly for Patreon subscribers as a perk.
Okay.
So people, I know for a fact that, a lot of these channels are open and everything, but I wanted to build a small community with people that are supporting me. So yeah, unfortunately it's only for Patreon subscribers, but yeah, I've had many people ask about it for sure.
All right, Lynn. Well, pleasure as always, my friend.
Cool.
We
This
appreciate
was
all the
fun.
support, of course, and love following along with what you do. And, we're looking forward to seeing more of the YouTube videos. So
Yeah,
if you are not subscribed to the Autopotamus YouTube channel, make sure you do it. There's a really great Autopot video that he posted there like a week or two ago,
yeah,
where he talks about a lot of the stuff that we were talking on this IG live. And we'll be sharing this video to the Autopot YouTube channel as well. And
awesome.
we'll be doing it again soon for sure. So Lynn, as always, man, thank
Thank you
you for your time.
so much.
Thanks for supporting the community. And
Thank you.
have a great weekend. And I look forward to talking to you soon, man.
Yeah, I'll be posting a bit more frequently because the plants are getting large now. The first 20 days they stay this size from, but 20-day plus it just explodes. So I'll be doing like basically weekly videos now.
I mean, that's where all the action happens. That's what we
Yeah, I
all want to
think so.
see.
Yeah, I'll show you guys some flowers.
All right, Lynn. Thanks,
Hello.
man.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining.
All right, take it easy.